A huge storm train is coming, which will lead to heavy snow, ice, and severe weather. Over the next few days, 2 winter storms will impact the central and eastern United States, spreading snow and pockets of dangerous ice from the Rockies through the Midwest and into the Northeast. Right along the freezing line, a narrow corridor of freezing rain could create major problems, especially where warm air overrides stubborn surface cold. Meanwhile, farther south, that same clash between plunging polar air and moisture-rich Gulf air will ignite a growing severe weather threat next week, with thunderstorms capable of damaging winds, large hail, and possibly tornadoes. This winter is about to take a big turn, and we have a lot to talk about in today's forecast, and I want to jump right into our future radar to break down the winter storm threat that we may have evolved over the next couple of days. And on top of that, the growing risk of severe weather next week, with multiple shots of snow and ice. And this is what it looks like right now. We do have a high-pressure system that is building across the northern plains with a little band of snow that has developed basically from South Dakota back into southern Michigan. And generally speaking, it's a pretty quiet day today in the weather world. We don't have anything significant happening. However, as we go into tomorrow, we are expecting moisture to surge over the Rockies, which is going to allow for a possible winter weather event to take place. And this could end up being a winter storm. It's just a lot of uncertainty still, even for this only being 24 to 48 hours out. Main reason why is because of the precipitation type. We don't exactly know where that snow and freezing rain is going to set up and how heavy it's going to be. Right now, the GFS model has been the most aggressive with this winter weather scenario, showing a larger batch of heavy snowfall developing late tomorrow night into early Monday across northern Missouri, impacting St. Louis back into Illinois, and then a freezing rain line trying to set up somewhere around Kansas City, back into Kentucky. Generally speaking, this is still a very tricky forecast and really anything could happen. But I would at least be keeping a very close eye to your National Weather Service alerts over the next 24 hours if you do reside in the Central Plains, Midwest, or back into the East Coast, because there is a real possibility that some areas could reach winter storm criteria, but it will not be very many of you. It'll be a very select few counties that actually get included into something like that. But freezing rain and snow is possible even into late Monday across the East Coast. I have a little bit more confidence that as we go into Tuesday, we are going to see an interesting ice and snow event take place across the Northeast. This looks to be a bigger deal than what we're talking about here over the next couple of days. This one could bring a little bit more icing to Pennsylvania, Virginia, back into Maryland, and also into New York. And we even could have a little bit of snowfall with it. But again, this is nothing like that nor'easter that we just saw only about a week ago. This is going to be a lot less significant. And generally speaking, we are talking about no more than just a few inches of snow, and ice accumulation should be mostly under 1/4 of an inch. Once we go into Wednesday, we do have a slight risk of severe weather issued by the Storm Prediction Center back over in the deep south and the southern plains. We'll talk more about that here in just a moment. But damaging winds, large hail, and even a few tornadoes could return, as a strong low-pressure system is expected to develop here across the Great Lakes and also across the Midwest. We could have some wintry weather on the north side of it, but exactly where that lines up is uncertain. And then, once we go into the second week of March, the weather looks to be very active across nearly the entire country. We are expecting a large swath of storm systems to make their way over the Rockies into the Great Plains, Ohio Valley, and even back through the East Coast. And I don't expect a whole lot more snowfall, at least here, over the next week or so, for most of you. However, severe weather is likely going to make a return. We're going to have a lot of moisture. I do expect a lot of showers and thunderstorms, and even some flooding to become more of a concern, especially as we go into the second week of March. But again, get ready. The weather's about to get really active very quickly. Now, let's get back to the forecast and we'll talk more about the severe weather threat. But I do want to touch on the snowfall accumulation, and this is what's expected at least according to the European model through late Monday night. And notice how much this winter weather event has downtrended. I mean, the European model showing a coating to maybe an inch in some locations. But beyond this, we could have a few more inches of snow back over in the Northeast once we head into late Tuesday and early Wednesday. Widespread 3 to 6 inches of snow is on the table, so if you are in New England, again, we are not done with winter quite yet. This is what the GFS model is showing. And again, there is a really big difference between deterministic models right now for this event, only being about 24 hours away from starting here across areas like Kansas and Nebraska. So again, there is a real possibility that yes, there could be a few locations that get winter storm criteria. This winter storm could uptrend a little bit last second. It could downtrend to almost nothing. So keep in mind, again, if you're anywhere in these areas, do not let your guard down. Just keep an eye to the weather here over the next 24 hours. And in terms of ice accumulation, yes, there is a real possibility that we could end up having a glazing to up to 1/10 of an inch of ice. Basically, anywhere from Kansas City and St. Louis, even back into central and northern Kentucky. This would be happening again late tomorrow night and into early Monday. But again, this is an uncertainty right now. If we look back over here on the East Coast, this is a little bit more certain to happen. We are expecting at least a possibility of a little bit of ice accumulation Monday, Tuesday, and into early Wednesday, anywhere from North Carolina all the way back into New England. Again, none of this is reaching ice storm criteria at this point, and I don't really think it's going to uptrend in that direction since most of our freezing rain will be light. But once again, slick spots on the roadways and isolated power outages could occur. And guys, severe weather is about to make a pretty big return. It's at least going to make some sort of return on Wednesday, which is again next week. But this is a day 5 slight risk of severe weather that has been issued by the Storm Prediction Center. The expectation right now is that there could be some scattered severe storms near Little Rock, back into Dallas, Fort Worth, and southeastern Oklahoma, even near Texarkana, where we could end up seeing some damaging winds, a little bit of large hail, and maybe even a couple or a few tornadoes. So, make sure that you're staying weather aware here on Wednesday. If you have any sort of plans for March 4th, definitely make sure that you are keeping an eye to the sky for this upcoming severe weather event. And over the next few days, we are expecting an Arctic blast to impact the Midwest and the Northeast. Once we head into Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, a heat wave will build again across the Great Plains, Ohio Valley, and back into the East Coast. Temperatures will be approaching record-breaking levels. By the way, yesterday, or actually a couple days ago, we ended up seeing temperatures in the low 100s in South Texas. We ended up seeing a few record-breaking high temperatures down that direction. And so, again, spring and summer are on the horizon here. They are coming in really quickly. Snow chances are starting to dwindle, which obviously means severe weather season's right around the corner. By the time we go into the second week of March, we are still expecting a warmer than average weather pattern basically anywhere around or east of the Rockies. If you're over here in the Pacific Northwest, though, below average temperatures will attempt to rebound in these areas. So, generally speaking, it's going to be a bit of a temperature roller coaster over the next few days on the northern tier of the country. If you're down in the southern tier of the country, temperatures are going to remain pretty flat. Generally speaking, not really any major cold fronts on the horizon or any major spikes in our warm weather. Over the next several days, yes, there is a very high likelihood at this point that we are going to see above average precipitation. This is mostly going to be rain when it comes to our storm activity that we're going to be seeing during the first couple of weeks here of March. However, yes, if you're in the northern tier of the country, there is still a possibility of some snow and maybe some freezing rain to kind of accompany that threat. But I do think the majority of it will end up being rain. And then this is our temperature trends in the first couple of weeks of March, mainly from March 5th until March 9th. Yes, we are expecting a well above average weather pattern, especially along the East Coast. Temperatures will be well into the 60s, 70s, and 80s all along the Gulf Coast. Some areas could even reach 90 and 100, and then back over the Midwest and back into the Great Lakes. Many days could easily be in the 40s and 50s for high temperatures, which is abnormally warm for early March. The storm train pattern represents a particularly active atmospheric setup where multiple weather systems will track across similar paths in rapid succession, creating a complex mix of precipitation types and weather hazards across a large geographic area. This type of pattern is especially challenging because it combines winter weather threats in northern areas with severe weather development in southern regions, requiring different types of preparedness and response strategies. What makes this situation particularly noteworthy is the narrow corridor where freezing rain will develop along the thermal boundary, creating localized areas of significant ice accumulation that can cause disproportionate impacts compared to the broader snow and rain areas. The transition from winter weather threats to severe weather activity also marks a critical period in the seasonal progression towards spring. The uncertainty in the precipitation type forecasts reflects the marginal nature of the temperature profiles associated with these storm systems, where small changes in storm track or timing can dramatically alter whether a location sees snow, freezing rain, or plain rain, making this a particularly challenging forecast scenario for both meteorologists and the public.